All right, we are back with another indie creator exchange podcast interview, and we are joined once again by Tanner Hurley. Tanner, how are you doing this fine afternoon?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Even better for seeing you because it's been a little while, and of course you got a whole
It
new
has
comic
been.
book. And we,
I
Jake and
do.
I, Jake and I were good on our word, and we had you back because the whole idea of
And I'm
this was, really keeping in touch with other indie creators, just to get people reacquainted with Tanner. The first interview we had with him was for his Rin. So that is in the playlist, so you can go back and listen to that. But we are all about Satellite Girl, and of course, at the end, we'll have your feedback on our second Turbo teaser. But
oh, I can't
man,
wait.
this is exciting. I'm not even going to get into my yeah. Tell us about Satellite Girl.
So, I met Chris, the artist and creator of Satellite Girl, and we met because I found his stuff on Instagram, and uh, originally I was trying to create a heavy metal inspired magazine that was actually going to be called Liquid, and Liquid Magazine, and he was going to put Satellite Girl in it. And I talked to a slew of other artists, and I'm not going to name names, but it seemed like the closer I got to making it happen, the more these other artists would like bail on me, and it just seemed like the project wasn't going to happen. But I really like Satellite Girl, so I reached out to a few artists and suggested that we forego the magazine and just go straight into a comic. And Chris graciously reached out to me. And I was like, "Oh man, this guy's good. He's probably gonna send me a message saying he's too busy, or whatever the case may
Right.
happen." And it was the exact opposite. So I was
Nice.
excited, and we turned what was going to be like a 10, 12 page little short into a full comic. And then we're still rocking and rolling. We just got done with our second issue campaign, and he's wrapping up pages right now on issue two, that should be done early August,
Oh
and
wow.
we'll be sending that to print. Print is everything's paid for. I just need the files,
Right.
and we
Right.
can we can make it happen. But everything's ready to go for issue two, and then and we'll keep it going. And I know, like, you're looking at issue one, and issue one was under my original company, Apothic, which I had some issues with copyright and things like that, and so I basically
Oh, the
had to
wine?
cease
Did
and
the wine
desist.
people come after you?
No, some other people
Oh really?
did.
Oh wow.
Yeah, internationally.
Oh
Yeah, so I
wow.
had some international issues, and I didn't know how to like navigate that, and certainly didn't want to pay out for legal costs.
Sure. Sure.
And
Wow.
so I was like, okay, we'll just I was like, I'm a creative guy, so we now have 8 Ball
Right.
Studios,
Right.
and so the second book is under 8 Ball Studios, and we're going from there and just kind of rocking and rolling. And I've taken a step back, and we're still working on some of the other comics and getting them out. And yeah, it's been fun. It's been a ride. It's been a roller coaster for sure. you know
And you're playing primarily as a publisher, the role.
Yeah, I went into basically I shifted gears from writer creator to editor and publisher, and it's been amazing. It's a different experience, but not one that I spent 19 years in the military, so I'm used to running things,
Right.
and so it was like, oh, well, I can do this. This is too easy. you know? So I shifted gears and put on that hat, and I've loved it. Me and Chris work well together. But I'm the kind of guy, I like to give free reign to artists. With all projects, whether it's their project or my project, even in my writing style, because we're actually in the process. And I can't talk about it too much, but we're in the process of actually selling Rin and Electric to another studio,
Ooh.
one that can produce it a lot better than I can. Let's put it that way. Whereas I'm just one guy, they would have a full team, and so yeah, I'll say it. Yeah, I'm a bit of a sellout, but
That's all right.
but that's a good thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think everyone should be a sellout, because that means you can produce new stuff.
Exactly.
you know.
No argument here.
Yeah, right.
So, people should refer back to our first episode with Tanner, and that's when we went through the Rin, and I think we had a couple different cover. There it is, and so why don't you tell us I guess the discography. So you had Rin, and we have Satellite Girl in hand now. Are these
Mhm.
the only offerings so far?
No, I have one that's still in the fulfillment stage. It's the follow up to Ren. It's electric, and like I said, I'm in the process of doing fulfillment on that one and getting that out to people. And that's, I hate to admit it, but that one's been like a white albatross for like the last couple years almost. Um, it's experienced every issue to push it back that you can imagine, from
Murphy's Law.
drop play. Oh god, my gosh! Like I put it out a few years. Like I said, I put it out almost a few years back. And we started the Kickstarter in one, we did it in December, right before New Year's. Um, so we were playing the Russian roulette with that. It's like not a lot of people put their stuff out end of the year. They kind of get it all out, throughout the summer projects and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and then go from there. But I thought, oh, okay, well, if there's not a lot of creators that I have to compete with, this could be a good thing. But we also hit, that's when inflation started. And it started something bad, because I ended up having over 2K in drop pledges. So it went from being
Wow.
oh, well, if you, I mean, because you guys have seen how Kickstarter works, I'm sure. But
Right.
Kickstarter, just shows what you overall, the total that you made. They don't show
Right.
the negative, you
Right.
know. And so all that stuff was happening in the background. And I went from being able to publish to not being able to print, to then it took me forever to raise money. And then you're juggling the customer service aspect of it, because I feel like people, they the ones that continued to pledge and everything, they deserve their books. However, I think I definitely, I think I tried to portray myself as a more established, and as a more established business than I was, because I am kind of a one man show,
Right.
and I think then people get mad, and then you have to pretty much do full disclosure and be like, hey, I'm sorry, it's not the intention, that things are late, or and then you start explaining all the problems, which I've been a part of Kickstarters that have done the same thing, and it's frustrating because some of these people, are like industry, or were industry pros in the '90s, and it's like, come on, you know this stuff, shame on you, But I think a struggling artist, or fledgling studio, you kind of you have to give them a little leeway, you know,
Yeah.
when there's
So
issues like that.
So there's kind of two aspects really that are always in tension. One is the creative aspect where you're coming up with ideas, you're coming up with art, you're putting it all together, and then there's the whole business side. And a
Yes.
lot of people that sit down and they say I want to make comics don't realize what a bear the business side is, and when Tanner says he's in the fulfillment stage, I guess that means you have printed copies and you're sending them
Hmm.
out to all the people, right? Which is going to be like
Yep.
everybody that ordered it. People don't realize, that if you've got 50 or 100, backers, you got to sit there and, that might be days of just packing up comics and shipping
It
them out,
is.
right?
It's just hours
Yeah.
of double checking the Excel spreadsheets and making sure that they get all their add-ons
Right.
and making sure you got your numbers right, because you go in there, but like I got to go back in, and it's like there's like $60 or something cheap, but I have to order a few more copies because I
Right.
overlooked
Right. Oh no, I'm out of
some.
stickers. This guy has a sticker
Yeah.
package. Oh.
so there's little things like that, that you run into, and it was like, oh, this is a slight oversight, but it's nothing that can't be
Well,
fixed.
if we can, how about we just spend a little bit on the creative? So Satellite Girl is the new offering, and let's
Hmm.
just forget about the business stuff for a second. And
Okay.
so Satellite Girl, tell us about the story, the concept, and you mentioned the roles that you play, and you're kind of just like letting Chris. How do you say his last name? Ouellette?
Chris Ouellette.
Chris
So
Ouellette.
it's like a W.
Right. Chris,
Ouellette.
it sounds like you're letting him just, unleash, and, and he's got all of this great stuff pouring out. You see his art style, it's very kind of, stylish and very individualized.
Oh, Barry.
And then is he coming up with all of the dialogue and the storylines? Like what
He
are the
is.
division of roles?
He writes, and then I go through, I proofread, and everything. But he's really fantastic. So I mean, it's like, okay, proofread, but then I don't find anything, and you know, and I'm like, okay, but I guess that's the role of an editor, you
Right.
know. But he's really, he's got a background in screenwriting and does screenplays and stuff like that. So he's well versed in the writing role and creating on top of the arts. Um, which he's fantastic at. But he created Satellite Girl, and the idea behind Satellite Girl is you have the character at the beginning, which you can see his silhouette there. It's Captain Cosmos,
Yeah.
um, and Captain Cosmos has been around since like the 40s. He's a World War II hero. He's nigh invulnerable, um, and he's had sidekicks that kind of there's been 12 sidekicks, and they kind of represent a generation. So we kind of worked our way back with starting with the most recent one with Satellite Girls 12, 11, and 10. With the first issue, and then we're working our way back to the founding of Satellite Girl 1.
Oh, fun.
And
So yeah, that kind of reminds you of the Watchmen, the way they had this like long history, and they just kind of unveil the backstories little by little, right? You're in the current
yes.
day, and then you're going back, and this Captain Cosmos, he's just kind of like this, venerable male hero, that's always been popular, but he's had a rotation of sidekicks. So that's a great setup. You do get that from the first page, and so you're off and running. So this is a pretty good setup here. Um, Tell us about. I mean, Kurt, I want you to weigh in before we move on this
Yeah.
guy's art style, Chris Willett. So, to me, I mean, he's super super detailed, and some of these like splash panels and like this cover and these pinups and stuff. But it also reminds me kind of like of graffiti art characters. The way that they're stylized. I don't want to say cartoonish, but I
No,
would
I
say
wouldn't
like
either.
kind of like an
Well,
individualized, kind of expressionist style. And then, I wanted to get your take, and then we'll talk about the colors and lettering.
Yeah, well, I was actually going to go straight to the colors because my the thing I judge a comic book on is its color. So the coloring digitally or not digital, it's an
yeah, it's
element. It's
digital.
an element. Yeah. Well, no. I'm just saying from my own like looking at because I'm way more interested in black and white. But when an artist can integrate their colors to the values of black and white, I'm sold. I'll also say this is so heavy metal. That's the other tick that came through. This the moment I opened it up, I was like, whoa, wow, whoa, okay. I need to start at the beginning. I can't start on this page, because I enjoy reading comics by just cracking it open somewhere and then just start reading.
Oh,
Like, am
absolutely.
I going to want to read any more? And from here, I don't have anything critical to say other than give me more. And the last thing I would say is, and it's so refreshing to see somebody completely standing on their own 2 feet. In other words, I can't really sit here and say, oh, this is like Peter Chung, or this is like, so and so, this, I can't do it. I can give like a broad area of, like I said, like a very heavy metal European, even I agree, Jake, the graffiti feel to it, but I couldn't say, oh, he's taking this from Von Baudet. It's just not. So he's distilling Chris. And that is so refreshing nowadays to see.
It
And
is, isn't it?
yes,
It's
yes,
very
and I'm seeing more and more of it. I'm seeing more and more of it. So it's got me
Well, there's
excited.
also tons of Easter eggs in there. There's tons of Easter eggs for the influences, um, uh, both story and artistic is in there. Just like you're looking at Satellite Girl 11 right here, and the story was very kind of Warren Ellis,
Yeah,
Morrison,
yeah, Grant Morrison. Yeah,
which even
yeah,
even yeah,
yeah.
very very indicative of that kind of writing style. So I
Yep.
mean he's so well versed in being able to like you said, distill um these comic greats into
It's
his own
love letters.
individual
It's like
style.
love. It's making
Yeah,
a
it
love
is.
letter. I mean, I with my Crown book, that's always what the tension is for me as a creative, is to not be overtly John Buscema or Barry Windsor Smith, or it's, can I distill them and really champion them by being myself from what I feel. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the Grant Morrison thing is, the psychedelia, and not that I'm well versed enough to like point at specifics inside Grant Morrison's au revoir, au revoir, thing. But once again, Chris is writing a very excellent love letter, and yes, let's see more.
Well, and I'll tell you, because we've talked, we have, we're friends, and we have long conversations about art and writing
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. I can tell you, his influences are, a homogenization of Frank Quietly
mm,
and Joe Mad. you know,
okay,
he talks about his love of reading the X-Men growing up,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
seeing that Joe Mad, and so
I also
and it's
see a
so
little
funny
bit.
because I
I also see a little bit of like the Sam Keith and the Max, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
now
that's
that you
also
mentioned,
his back.
yeah,
Oh,
because there, it's like it really is his own, but there's some things that you have to go, to the era that they probably grew up in,
mhm.
and that seems like it fits the calendar.
And he's so eclectic with his his style and from um his background and everything. His parents were artists. His mom was had done like art design and stuff like that for people like David Bowie and
Oh wow.
Nine Inch Nails, and done stuff of that nature. So he's had all this different influence his whole life, and it just reads on the page. I think, um, all these different influences.
Yeah, it's really really interesting. So, you said that you're waiting for files. Does he deliver all this to you, just like in like done with colors and letters all finished up, and you
Yeah.
just go to print? Is that
Yeah, he pretty much does. And don't get me wrong, I get teasers and stuff like that, throughout the way,
right?
and we talk about, the process of it. But like with me, being having an art background myself, I just get excited, with it. And sometimes I got to reel myself in, so that I can do a good job of giving them positive or not positive feedback, but constructive feedback
Yeah.
that's going to help the project. you know,
Yeah.
um, so sometimes I have to step outside of my own excitement and love of it,
Fanboy.
and try to fanboy. Yes, absolutely. Um,
I have the same problem in working with the people at Crom. I just get like tongue tied, and they're just like, What's wrong? I'm just somebody like you trying to make comics, I
yeah.
love it. I just love it.
Well, I mean, like I watch you guys. I watch your show. It's maybe not every Sunday, but differently I pick it up on the week. When I'm
Yeah.
working on our
Thank
stuff,
you.
and I got you guys playing, in the background, and I'm looking over and watching the screen and everything. Because I got a TV right here by my art studio and screen and everything. So I'll watch you guys, and I got to wonder if it's like the same way, because you guys, if you have to take a step back and and not be as geeked about the project and kind of look at it subjectively, you know.
Yeah, and you got to look at your process, look at the timing. I mean, one thing we get a lot of complaints at is that we're taking our sweet time and we're just going little by little. But the reason we're
Oh,
having
but
you
the
on
end
is
the
because,
end result is so beautiful.
well, yeah, I mean, we don't have too much. We don't have too much choice because we had to pay bills with other jobs and stuff.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
the reason we're having you on now is because we did get to a plateau, where we have our second teaser out, and I guess we'll talk about that in the very end. But
Yeah.
Kurt will keep us regular, So we talked a little bit about the art, the process. We talked about the publishing, the drudgery work of it. Can you talk a little bit about because you have this company, so you're eight ball now, right? And
Yeah.
you're on the lookout, right? You're looking for projects, you're looking for artists. Are you always kind of considering expanding the line? You have Satellite Girl coming out, and what else is in the future?
Oh, I don't know right now. I'm playing everything very slow,
Mm-hmm.
and methodical. Um, because I have responsibilities here too. Wife and kids and all that kind of stuff. So I really don't know what the future holds. Like I said, I'm selling the one property, and I have things that are kind of in the works.
Yeah, you said Satellite Girl
But the
2 is just on is
satellite,
just on the
yep,
way.
satellite. It is. Satellite Girl 2 is on the way, and then I have a plethora of stories that I've written, or some of them that are just in the plotting phase, and and I would I'd love to work on them all, but you guys know as well as I do, that's not always the case. There's not enough hours in the day, or
Yeah, you gotta prioritize. You gotta
you gotta
find
gotta
time.
prioritize. Yeah. you know.
Find time,
But
and
I have a project called Biotech, which is been in development for a few years now. Um, which is kind of like a love letter to it's a cross. The main character is called the Geigertron, and it's H.R. Geiger and like Voltron, like
Whoa,
mm,
combined.
whoa.
you know, yeah. So
Got my imagination
always go.
going.
So I got a character that I'm working on. I got character sketches. I've got all that kind of stuff. I got the first issue, the first draft like in the works. So we'll see. Hopefully I can eventually get that one out.
yeah. Well, you never know what helps get things off the ground. Sometimes you meet
Yeah,
somebody. Sometimes you get a little free time, right? Like
exactly.
I once spoke to a guy and he said, "Oh, the greatest thing that ever happened to me was I broke my leg because then I was out of work and I, got to really, do some progress." So, um, you never know life's twists and turns, but those, it looks like you have a good eye for quality and you really kind of overlap a lot of our
Thank you.
interests. The sci-fi and the heavy metal and I was gonna
Oh
say
yeah.
this, this real eye candy package here. The colors and the palette and the lettering, and it's a really nice thing here. Really nice piece. Good heavy paper, right? Good printing and
Mhm.
publishing. So, it's good to see the Satellite Girl out. Hopefully, the next time we have you on, there'll be another product. And Kurt, what's our? Are we already up to our third segment?
Almost. I just want to re-inject Kickstarter. Now, I want to preface. I want to preface that I don't want you to feel like I'm using you as a punching bag, Tanner. But can you share? As honest as you want to be, the
Sure.
sort of and I'm gonna call them pitfalls. Do you feel that there's pitfalls in the Kickstarter in contrast to just having a product ready to go and someone clicks it, it's purchased, it's fulfilled?
In theory, I
Okay.
think that's the idea. That you click on it, you buy it. But with like Kickstarter, as opposed to some of the other crowdfunders that's out there, they have you put it on there for 30 days plus, um, and within that 30 days, someone can change their mind.
Yep.
Unlike some of the other ones where once you've clicked on it,
You're
it's
locked
it's
in.
immediate,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
locked in.
Yeah.
um I like the audience that I get from Kickstarter. I definitely get more eyes on than I have, because I've tried Indiegogo and I failed Indiegogo something fierce.
Are you
So
depending? Are you depending primarily from people searching through the crowdfunding platforms
um
like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, or are you pointing people from prior, like from a mailing list, and or like dropping stuff on Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff where with Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm going on. I've joined hundreds of groups, and you're going in there, and it's so tedious, but that's marketing, I guess. Where you're going in, you're dropping in a link and stuff to over, and like for me, it takes over an hour of my time to just do the social media aspect of it. In any given moment. But I think that's your primary ways of marketing is going on the social medias, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. I think that's how you really build your audience the quickest, is by going on social media. then everything else, it's needed, and it's much appreciated. People that that just are surfing, that makes up about 5-10%
Okay.
of your profits and
Okay.
and whatnot. Um, but am I relying on it? No, no, not as much as I'm relying on the social media interest and playing the videos and then clicking on the links to Kickstarter and then
Yeah, because then
yeah
once the Kickstarter is complete, people can still purchase the book. That's also another
they
idea,
they
right?
can now
Yeah,
they
now you can.
just added a new aspect of their offerings, where you can like extend certain add-ons. You can extend the campaign itself, and we did that with Satellite Girl 2, and we ended up funding um, above expectations for a second issue. So that was nice, and it went into making sure that the book gets processed and fully fulfilled and everything like that.
Good.
Still waiting on the big payoffs. It'd be nice to make a profit, but it's it, it, there it's process, and it's not, as you guys probably well know. It's not a cheap one. To build a fully functional 24 32 page book,
Right,
especially when it has quality to it, you know what
right.
I mean, like you're making sure that the paper and the color process is being conveyed properly on said paper. you know
Right.
and the process is it's very much a majority of the pie, you know.
So that actually does dovetail into the third question, which is, you're looking forward into the future of comics. Now, excuse me. Um, is there anything on your wish list when it comes to the future of comics? Having the experience that you have had with, um, you know, crowdfunding, Kickstarter, specifically, and then as you said in the beginning, there was a false start, if you will, with another product, project and everything. Is there anything just in
Mhm.
your own wish list that the industry as a whole gave a publisher and creators support?
um I wish we weren't all everyone's kind of in their own little world, even
Yeah.
in the indie scene. And I wish we would work together instead of it was like, oh well, I'm successful and I got to hold this close to my chest. And it seems like when I've reached out to a few people. I won't name names or anything like that, because I highly respect them and whatnot. But their interactions with me were less than ideal.
Right.
And I
Right.
was like, come on, we're all trying to make the same end goal. And
Right.
you know um I find that not a lot of creators are out there, especially indie creators are out there sharing the wealth of knowledge that I think is out there, the secrets of success and stuff like that. So I just kind of wish we would come together. um, and then sometimes, it's like I said, it's a runaway success. So it's unexpected, and then it comes, and now it's like, they have to operate like a business, and it's kind of like
Yes.
what you guys said.
Yeah.
Some people don't understand the business end of it. um, and I think, if we all work together, we took those skills. Some of us are business minded, some of them are creative minded. Some of us have both.
Yeah.
But if we took all these skills and put them together, I think we would be on par with Marvel, DC, the bigger companies' image, stuff like that. Because that's the difference I see between the big three and the indie community is um, we're just not coming together, and
Fractured.
it's yeah, very fractured, and there's so much squabbling, and I've seen it, turned into a joke. There was uh, some of the CG slums guys that I know. They're they did like a artist, cockfight type thing, artist
Wow.
versus artist, and
Yeah.
it's all in good fun,
Yeah.
but it's to mock the reality of where people are, kind of at each other's throats, and it is what it is. So yeah, I wish, that people would kind of come together, and share that knowledge, and so that we could be something, on par with Marvel and DC. Mainly, and I'll say it, because really they've dropped the ball over the last few years, and
Sure.
I personally, I'm not buying Marvel and DC comics. I haven't bought a Marvel and DC comic in a while. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes they have an artist, like Kyle Hotz or somebody, do an alternate cover, and maybe they get my money, as a result of using a favorite artist or something like that. But nothing's on my pull list. I rely on Kickstarter, Indiegogo. It's whatever I'm looking at. Having to surf, um, to find indie stuff. Because I feel like they're obviously putting out the higher quality work. Just like your guys. You guys know I gush over Turbo.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love it. You guys have you got your thumb on the pulse of something cool. Just something amazing.
Well,
you know?
toot our horn, I really do believe our success is in a trajectory because of how much time we don't spend on it. And I think
Mhm.
just to kind of bring in to the future of comics, and it does go back to like the social media, the YouTuber reviewing channels and such. Um, and even the tragedy of cartoonist kayfabe. There's way,
Oh,
way,
yeah.
way too much talk about not making comics, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. And all Jake and
Yeah.
I do for every Sunday is talk about making comics. I also just want to pump up our indie comic exchange one more time, or another time, I should say. And what we're doing is we're following up with you. Where are you at? Are you high? Are you low? Are you in the middle? Are you ready to bow out? Are you ready to whatever sell out? Like you said, these types of things. A transparency of information would be great. But I also think, and correct me, Tanner, if I'm misspeaking. You also enjoy the collaboration. I think is maybe a little of the starvation. You might be feeling. Where, like I said, I always thank Jake for taking care of the things that I don't really want to take care of. And I also take care of the things that I know Jake doesn't want to take care of. And that's a really nice partnership to work with. But yeah, we're just looking at the retirement package, if you will, of Turbo Pit Fighter, and so we're playing. And this is a business mindset that I've gotten from strategists that I follow. You want to run a marathon, you
Yeah.
don't want to win as many 100-meter sprints. You want to win the marathon. The problem with the marathon is that it's not a 3-hour thing or something. It's long, and that's for all businesses. Whether you're making donuts or comic books, it really doesn't matter. it really means a lot to people when they feel like they're not only buying a beautiful product, but they're also buying into something that's supporting a community. Let's indie comic artist type of thing. Am I misspeaking? I don't, like I said, I don't want to
No,
misspeak for you.
no, no, not at all. No, no. I love the collaborative effort, and I love what you guys put into it. You know, it's half the reason why I watch your show. And then you talked about the tragedy of cartoonist kayfabe. Oh gosh, what a horrible situation that was, because the backlash from that, I think, for the comic book community and the indie community as a whole has been catastrophic.
It's
Um,
exposed us as a community, and I do say us.
yes,
It
yeah,
exposed us, and then we've got to amend it, and we better amend it in a very, very empathetic, sympathetic, and humane way.
hmm
So
absolutely. But kudos to you guys, because you're definitely out there doing it. You know,
Yeah, we try to talk about it in a way where it's just like, well, we're just two guys that have opinions, and we each took a turn giving our view. But
hmm
it's something that isn't going away
yeah,
anytime soon, and you know, uh, just to kind of like look back on what's happened. I hope that everybody involved is learning the lesson of not doing that whole cancel thing, right? Like, people fuck up, people do bad things, people are wrong,
you're
but
supposed to. You're supposed to.
right, but
that's just being human. You know.
Yeah.
yeah, and life is fragile, and
hmm
creative people all have some kind of mental thing going on, whether they're ability as a gift and it allows them to
Oh
see
yeah.
things differently, or maybe they take things harder, um and if this is supposed to be a community, it should never get to be where anybody needs to feel like they're attacking other people. I wouldn't
Yes.
put comic creators in that,
Yeah, no, and like I said, you guys, and I wish that there were more people, stepping up to the plate, and putting out these videos, um, people that have an eye for quality, um, like you guys do. It just, yeah, yeah. Like,
Yeah, it's tough.
sorry, you got me in,
No, it's a
you
long
got me in the
time.
fields with that
let
one.
me let me let me let me move us along then, because as the indie exchange, as our indie creator exchange goes, you know, uh, Tanner sent us issue one of Satellite Girls. Matter of fact, two copies. This is an awesome coloring book cover. So kids of all ages can get into some coloring, and then
We
of
did,
course we
or
sent.
if you're just a,
yeah.
a fan of black and white,
Yeah, exactly. No, no,
like
no.
I
Yeah, the
am.
line art's beautiful. The line art's
Right.
beautiful.
I was gonna
And
say
then
I was gonna say public service announcement: do not color comics. Do not.
but and we've sent a copy, the second turbo teaser, which is the first 12 pages, and we want to hear feedback, and feedback can be in the form of questions, like, guys, you're not answering this question, or guys, can you tell me more, or guys, how can I, X, Y, and Z. So let us have it, please.
Okay, so no, no. Once again, I pour over it, and the art. Oh my gosh, the art.
Thank you.
When I see this, like, it blows me away. You're, jeez, I don't even have the words to describe it. And I love the story. I love the flow of it. Um, it's hard when God, it's so hard to describe it. Because I just it's such a love letter. It's such a love letter to your influences.
Say it.
And I
Say
know
it.
So I see Mad Max, the
That's
George
it.
Miller
Thank you.
stuff, and just the artistic wise, the Crumb, it's so indicative of what I consider like 70s underground art, which I'm a big fan of. And when I came across you guys, I was just like, whoa, no one's doing stuff like this, that I can find, all the time. And I'm constantly surfing. Instagram and like I said, TikTok and stuff like that, and you only find a handful of guys that are influenced by older work. It's people kind of trying to do the same old thing, and I do not get that from this. It's so original, but like I said, it's a love letter at the same time. So I love it.
Yeah, I was
The
wondering.
story.
I was wondering if you saw our Furiosa episode, and if you
I did.
saw the movie, and if you wanted to spend a second, because like I love that, that comes to mind, Mad Max and Robert Crumb and all that. But what did you think of Furiosa?
I haven't seen the movie yet.
Oh,
I just watched the episode, and I don't care about spoilers and stuff like that. That's
right.
never been my thing that bothers me. So I was like, oh, cool, an episode on Furiosa. I was like,
Oh,
oh, you got
you're
my
gonna
interest,
love it,
guys.
man. You're gonna love it.
you know,
They really did. They really did a good job, I thought.
Great job.
yeah, I can't wait to see it. Believe me, I watch the previews. I watch like little people talking about little clips about people talking about um the movie and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and it just gets me jazzed up for it. But I gotta have time. I gotta allocate that time to sit down and watch it.
Yeah, so it really we were taping an episode before, and we've been really spending some time whenever we talk about the content, about sci-fi in general and the future, we're arguing, like, in real life, things that are happening now, what they're going to look like 100 or 200 years from now. And Mad Max is a great franchise. Something Kurt told me I didn't know was how old George Miller is. So
Oh yeah.
I hope he's got maybe two or three more, but it sounds like he's
Ooh,
getting up
cool.
there.
I don't know.
He
Yeah,
he is getting up
I
there
don't
in
know.
age, and I get so worried about these guys, that
yeah,
have epic, just epic stories to tell, and it's another thing I find in the comic book world. There isn't a lot of proteges. I
right,
don't know if
Ooh.
you've noticed that.
Ooh.
you know,
right.
Ooh.
who's going to carry that torch,
Whoa.
because obviously, there's people out there that love it. There's people out there that love, Mad Max and Furiosa and George Miller and stuff like that, and I'm one of them. you know and you guys, so I look at you guys and I'm like, oh cool, they're carrying the torch. you
Oh,
know
Definitely.
no
you
pressure.
know
No pressure.
no.
No pressure.
Sorry,
Jeez.
not trying to put pressure on you. I see, you guys are doing it.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You guys are out there doing it, and it shows in the work, and it's amazing. It's You're killing it, guys. You're absolutely killing it.
Well,
Well,
Jake and I
thanks,
have an
Bert.
advantage. We have a greater advantage, I think, over a lot of people I run into in the comic book industry, is that both of us are educators. So it's not so much a primary thing. It's just that we've been teaching art for so long that it's inherent for us to make sure that people are understanding what we're saying. You know what I mean? And they're kind of getting
Yes.
it. So that vibe, I think, is where you're feeling like, we're trying to pick up a mantle and move it, in a way. But that's an advantage. But also, uh, I am so happy you just said what you just said, because that's one of a couple of things that wakes me up in the middle of the night, is exactly what you said. Once George Miller's gone, once Kelly Jones is gone, these people in comics and movies, who is going to pick up this mantle? So when you want to have a hyperbolic YouTube podcast about the fate of comic books, you could very well point to this being the question,
Mhm.
and the answer at this point is, I don't know. I don't personally have anybody that's like under the age of 40, let's say, or 50, that I revere as doing something that promotes comics. Like Jack Kirby, when you watch all of the interviews with him, there's a common thread. He wants to tell a story that no matter who you are, you can't stop reading his story and looking at the
Absolutely.
pictures. So you could be a 5-year-old, you could be a 55-year-old. So that level of creative integrity is what we do have to aspire to. So
Oh yeah. Well,
somebody
and
will.
yeah, somebody will. But like I'll tell you guys. So the other day I was on Dan Kemp's feed on Facebook, and he was talking about working in comics and over the years, and how great he was, or grateful he was to work with Extreme Studios and stuff like that, and all the other studio, but getting to start with Extreme. And he said that Rob Liefeld needed to step up and be the new Stan Lee, because he has that excitement for
Yeah,
comics, like
yeah,
and the knowledge.
yeah,
He's so much comic knowledge.
yeah.
I know, as a guy who listens to Robservations. So I got on there, and I posted a comment, definitely thanking Dan for his contributions to the comic medium as a whole. And then I said, "Yeah, Rob, when are you going to get Extreme back, the guys from Extreme back together and save comics?" And he actually he liked it, so it means he read it,
Nice,
and
nice.
hopefully he's digesting that comment, because I know I'm not the only one that's saying stuff like that, but who is going to carry on that torch? Who's carrying on the torch for Stan Lee, for Jack Kirby, for and I do it like what my daughter is an artist. She's 13, but she has, like most kids nowadays, she has a love for anime.
Yeah.
But I've showed her older comics, and she's got the How to Draw the Marvel Way
Ah,
books,
nice.
and yeah, so she's learning how to infuse all this stuff into one. And kids kid's a hell of a writer. She's definitely surpassing me at that age for sure. So it's just, it's like I'm doing it, but who else is carrying that torch and making sure that a younger generation understands the creative endeavors of some of these masters.
Well, I think it's happening. I teach middle school, so I see the numbers. And definitely 97 or 98% of kids are not interested in that. But you get your kids,
Hmm.
that come along, and one advantage that they have is the technology to see all the old stuff pretty easily and get your references. And you
Oh
know
yeah.
Kurt and I talk a lot about AI and how that's going to, shape things. But if you have talent and you have a love for storytelling, it'll come out. You wonder. One thing I worry is that if people are going to be too siloed, you know, and
Yeah.
because like conflict resolution, like getting along in America, like everything's so you know everything's so bitter and polarized. And I mean,
Yes.
we should be making comics. And you can't do it all alone. Like like someone like Chris, he turns in the pages, that's great. But so
Yeah.
many other people are only a colorist, and they're only
Hmm.
an inker, or they're only a letterer. Somebody does pencils, they're not good at the other stuff. I mean, so when you're like that, you need to get together with others. You need to,
Yeah, absolutely.
form a unit.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that. When I was doing comics pre 9/11, and I belonged to a small studio called Dragon Crest Studios out of Jackson, Michigan, and we're just that's what we were, just a bunch of kids and a couple older gentlemen and one that had worked in Hollywood, and Bill Bates, was our mentor, and anyhow, he took these ragtag team of people that some were inkers, some were pencilers, some were writers, some were both, and but we learned to work on spec,
Yeah.
and I think nowadays, that view has kind of gone away. No one wants to pay the dues, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, and it's unfortunate, really, but it's necessary, because it teaches you how to collaborate. And I think, you learn when you're working in that environment, you learn to love the process, or you don't, and I think that's how the cream rises to the top. Is you get the
Yeah.
people that love what they're doing.
Yeah. So, we have to have faith that, that some new people will come along, and, that they'll be able to see the stuff that we're doing and the stuff that came before. And, hopefully people will be able to get along in this world and find each other, and,
So I want to
be
give a shout out to Ben Dunn from Antarctica Press on his
Oh, I
YouTube
love
channel,
Ben.
which I'm going to put a link in here. I'm this week. I'm actually going to reach out to him. He dropped a dozen videos within 1 week. Not this past. Was it this past? No, it wasn't this past week. It was the week before.
The week before,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that were hands down not complaining, but offering solutions. And the number one thing that stood out, and thank you once again, Tanner, for bringing it up, is if you're going to tell a story, keep yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Superheroes are supposed to be here to create and raise and maintain a higher ideal. A higher ideal. Now, of course, we're in this weird world of splitting, and no, these people and my people and your people and who people and what people. And, okay, I get it. I get it. It's tough to sell a Superman for all men and women and so on and so forth. But he really, really nails it in the time you're going to spend has to be on a good story that people want to read. And if there is anybody who could be the one that takes the mantle, just like Jack Kirby, it's going to be somebody like Ben Dunn. And he does
Yes,
not get
absolutely.
the due diligence and love
No.
in the community as people. Being the first person to introduce a manga to America, I was buying Ninja High School right out of the
Ninja,
gate.
yes.
I'm a big fan of Gold Digger. And the fact that he
I
has
am
come
too.
out and I'm going to put a link down below, and I'm going to be talking more and more about him, whether he's going to think. But I think he's come through the crack after cartoonist kayfabe, and he's saying, "Look, guys, just calm down and get to work and make some good stories people want to read. Just people, please."
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that you brought him up and brought up his channel. Because he's another one that I watch pretty avidly. And I've spoken with Ben on a few occasions. And just talking about what you're talking about. It's about making good comics,
Yeah.
and you find your audience, and then you take care of that audience.
Yeah.
It's I think it's our job to. I think in so much, with American culture, it's all about trying to take care of everybody, and that I think that's an impossible
It is.
task nowadays.
It is.
You know,
We've proved that you can't.
so, yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, well,
So
that's why the niches are getting so, so narrower and narrower,
Yeah.
and and we've but we have so many references to go off, right? Like, somebody's like,
oh man,
oh, this is gonna be like Battle Galactica meets Godzilla, and then like, all
Right.
right,
Right.
so
Right.
so everyone's like kind of able to define themselves based on what's come before, because originality is hard, to come by. I mean, if you say, oh, I want to call
Yeah.
something, like I was coming up with like some corporation names for the story. I'm like, all right, I want to come up with, like, how about Neuracorp? So I Google it. It's like, oh, there's like 15 of them. Oh, geez. All right.
yeah.
So it's got to be okay. Now it's got to be X Neuracorp or I Neuracorp or E Neuracorp. So, and it's like, oh, that doesn't have a ring. So everything has been before, and same thing with music too. Like music, it's all been done before. Movies, it's all been done before. But comics and animation, I think, still has a way to go. I really think
Yes.
animation more than comics, but it's not just like the way you put things together and combine things, but if you have a way of looking at the world and you have something that you can bring to the table, that we can get down before we all die.
Yeah, it's just tell the story. Just tell the story. Damn the consequences.
Right.
Other people are gonna love it or people are gonna hate it. There might be some people in the middle, but you know, and then you can't focus on the people that hate it. It's just like, okay, well, it's not your bag, so
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
get over it.
So we are at the 1 hour mark. We like to keep these at 45 minutes ish. But when we get into the heat of things, I hate
I
to
know,
pull the
right?
plug, but it only means, Tanner, that we've got to have you back again.
Okay.
So soon as you get Satellite Girl #2, obviously from the printer, and you can get those copies out to us. I know Jake and I would be more than happy to get you back on and get another update from you. But I want to just
Sounds
thank
great.
you. I just want to thank you again for coming on and obviously pushing forward as a creator and a publisher in the indie comic scene. And that's all I have right now. Jake, do you have anything for these people before we let them get back to reading comics, making them if they choose?
No, just really, look at Tanner. He's a great example of somebody where you don't have to do the art, you don't have to do the, or the writing. You could be a publisher, find people, put the pieces together, right, and use your creativity, to find the role, that really works. And so, I look at Tanner as a real success. And I'm glad that
Oh, thank you.
we made friends, and that we're gonna have you on, again and again.
I can't wait. It's such an honor being on here with you guys. Um, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you. So we'll see you.
See you soon.